I always like to start actually at the end of the chain. The speaker is the final EQ curve in your entire tone. It is as important as your guitar choice is the speaker choice, which is why IRs can make it very convenient. Yes, it's not, you're not miking a true amp. You know, that's the trade-off. You don't have to have a warehouse full of speakers and microphones. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know that I'm a huge York Audio IR fan, and we're gonna start off with their twin IR here. This is just guitar straight in with a Fender York IR. Sounds good. It sounds nice and even. That's the first one. I mean, that's pretty easy because that's the first one, but let's try another one. Let's try number 3. Not as much high end there, which I think is good. Let's start here. That's good bass response too. And it sounds good on the bridge too. Okay, so you just do a quick test there to kind of get a feel of where it's going to go. Now, a key thing about finding your tone is finding what's the EQ curve in your head, right? What are you hearing in your head? Are you hearing a really bass heavy tone? Are you hearing like a lot of mids? Are you hearing a lot of high end? And then it also goes to the second question. What's this for? Are you soloing? Are you playing rhythm? Are you doing both, a little bit of both? You got to go back and forth. Is this for a client? Are you emulating a band? So once you have that sound in your head and you figured out what sound you want to go for in your head, then you start to build it at the most simple level possible. If you can get it with just the amp modeler and the IR, that is great because that's the foundation. Like that means no matter what you add, whether it's modulation or drives or boosts or compressors, your tone, the foundation that you stand on will still be there. Just an Iridium and the IR. Good. That's good, but let's see if we can give a little more bite. Hear how much more mids there are. You'll have to adjust accordingly, right? As you change a parameter, just be aware of what's happening, what's changing. And it feels like there's a lot more high end. Just see if there's... That sounds good. That's a good Fender tone, right? Yeah. Quick bridge check. That's good. There's a lot of mids there, and I think that might have to do with the IR. Reverb is really important for a lot of different reasons. Reverb creates realism, and reverb also pulls things together, right? Having reverb in your chain, especially if it's before the IR, kind of acts as not as a compressor, but it kind of molds everything and pushes it through the same effect. If you have a tone knob on your reverb, like the Flint, it's another way to shape your tone. Let's try that. Color. So... Hear that? It's like a wah, 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 wah. That's like probably around like 2K or 1K. But hear this now. Much higher. That's like 6K. And higher. It's like it's like a shelf there. It's good. Let's just pull back in the mix just a little bit. But I think, oh man, what's it like all the way up? It sounds good, man. So not only is the reverb giving you vintage vibe, but it's also adding tone, right? Now it's adding kind of like a high shelf here. It's easy to get carried away with reverb, which is why you should always check with headphones just to be sure, right? Okay, so we found our reverb, we found our tone. There's still a little bit of like a weird kind of boxiness though. And I think that's the IR. It's 5. Closer, but that didn't have the high end that I wanted. 9. I like 9. Oh. Found it. Number 10. Now, what would I use this tone for? This is a great vamping tone, right? You're not taking a solo on this. There's not enough emotion there. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but if you're taking a solo, you want to be saying something, right? And that, to me, that tone's a great rhythm tone. It doesn't get in front of the vocals. It doesn't get in the way. It doesn't fight with like a keyboard or anything kind of in that same EQ range. But what that doesn't do, it's not a lead tone, right? Because a lead tone should be saying something tonally. And that's where we can start adding our other pedals. So let's start with the simplest way to do it, with the boost pedal. Now, here's the problem with the boosts. It makes it louder, right? And that's what they're supposed to do. If something is louder, your ear will automatically say, that sounds better than the other one because it's louder, all right? And this is something that they go over a lot when you're recording and when you're testing and A/Bing. You're trying to make sure that you're not getting fooled by it being louder, thinking it's better. That's why it's really key to know what your boost is doing. So a good way to do that, if you really want to be stringent, is turn down the volume before you turn on the boost. So we'll turn it down a little here. Match that. That's pretty good. Close match. And now you can hear exactly what it's doing. EP Booster from Exotic has a very specific tone imprint. It adds that low mid. Not great for rhythm, right? Muddies it up too much, right? That's going to fight with EQ. It might even fight with the bass guitar. At least the way this tone setup is working, right? I already set it up so that this rhythm. I already set it up so that that's a good rhythm sound. So I don't need a rhythm sound for boost. Hear how different that sounds. It adds a little more character, and that's what we were looking for. What about when you're adding compression? Always, just like with the booster pedal, always try to match those gain levels so you're not getting fooled until, yeah, it sounds better, dude. I've been fooled many times. What a compressor is most likely to do, there's lots of different kinds of compressors, and this MXR one is pretty straightforward. It can lessen the attack and bring up the second half of the note. It's a subtle difference, but that will affect it. I usually have compressors only on certain kinds of songs. I usually only use them with single coils like most people. So when people talk about beefing up single coils with the compressor, that's what it's doing, pushing down the high part of the transient and the note, and it's bringing up the beefier part of it, right? Thereby thickening up the sound. Now let's go to an overdrive pedal, which I think is always kind of cool to do because it can do so many different things. This is the OCD from Fulltone, rest in peace. That's everything at nearly 12. Let's say we want like a rhythm sound. And anytime you're adding overdrive, you're going to lose clarity, right? That's what it does. It adds harmonics and it usually compresses the signal. So you're going to lose some high end. So we want to make sure you retain that definition somehow. You don't want to sacrifice that original tone. The OCD is good at that, at least in the lower powered setting. It really is good at preserving that tone that you did have. So let's turn down the drive. That's pretty close volume-wise, so we're not getting fooled. And if I want to clean it up, you can just roll the volume back. One guy asked me, hey, what's the difference between rolling the volume back and turning down the gain? And it's a good question. Two things here. One, the practical reason is that I don't have to reach down for my gain pedal every time I want to get a cleaner sound. Number two is because it actually is a different tone. Because when you roll down your volume, most of the time, if your guitar is wired up in a traditional way, and you don't have a treble bleed circuit, you're rolling back some high end too. And overdrives and distortions usually add high end. So a way to mitigate that is by rolling back volume. And so you get this kind of like blended signal of some clean. That's rolled down. You know, it's way too much high. It's kind of shrill. So that's what it does. And I cannot get that tone out of the OCD just by using the pedals with this on 10. Okay? Cool. That sounds really good, actually. Let's say I want to switch to lead. I'm doing some lead stuff. Now, here's another secret. If you're doing rock stuff on a Telecaster, roll down the tone just a little bit. Because of the way pickups are designed, our Telecasters, and the way the bridge is designed, it gives a much broader sound, a much fatter sound than you would get on like a Stratocaster. This is toned all the way up on the bridge. Roll it back. It's a beefy sound. Double check your reverb as you add other effects. Sometimes it'll affect it in a different way and make a lot more reverb than you want. So just always be sure. So we got our sound there, but let's say, okay, I want a really bigger sound on my OCD, but I only have one pedal. That's where the boost can boost your overdrive, right? So now we have the EP on going into the OCD. Now you got to double check. Not every overdrive pedal or distortion pedal will take a boost well. This is where you just got to test it and try. Sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on the guitar, depends on the amp. And now knowing that the EP adds low end, we should be good going into the OCD because the OCD, we have the tone up high. So it should be filling in on the low end without, overly compressing any of the EQ that we've already taken delicate steps to make sure it sounds good, right? Now, if I had a little pedal board and all I could put with 3 pedals on it or 4 pedals on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm done. And then I do a little headstock tuner, and that's it. It's a wrap. Like I have a nice normal clean tone. I have a nice lightly overdriven tone. And then if I need to boost that, there you go. You don't need a dual booster pedal or anything crazy like that. You can get by with something like this. There are boost pedals that you can find online that are $50. The Super Overdrive from Boss, $60, right? Like you can get this kind of flexibility on the cheap if needed. It's good to know this. It's good to have good tone. As a professional, you need to have good tone and you need to understand what kind of tone works for what scenario, but don't obsess over it. Get it to where it's good enough and move on, and you'll keep learning as you keep playing. If you want to learn more about getting good tone out of the Iridium, here's a playlist I made of all the Iridium videos. Thanks.